Welcome to the NBA Triple Double Show powered by SportsMemo. I'm your host, Ronald Cabang from Wager Talk and at UCapper Sports on Twitter. I'll be joined by Moneyline Matt from SportsMemo and Jeff Michaels from Wager Talk. We'll be talking about Game 3 of the NBA Finals between the Miami Heat and the Denver Nuggets that will be happening tonight. But before we get into that game, I do want to talk about what we got going on over at sportsmemo.com and wagertalk.com. Guys, we have a free live odds page. We have deals pages and promos available from all the cappers. Cappers provide free picks and analysis on a daily basis, along with their daily packages that they do have for sale as well. At Wager Talk, we also have a special going on right now, June special, 30 days of all access for $198. A 7-day all access package at Wager Talk is normally $99, but if you get a full 30 days for the month of June, you can pretty much get all 30 days for the price of two 7-day all access packages. After that comes down to $6 or $7 a day, alongside basically your favorite handicapper for the next 30 days. No coupon is needed. There's no limit to the number of handicappers you can choose as well. So make sure you head over to Sports Memo to catch Matt. You can find myself and Jeff Michaels over at Wager Talk. Also, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button here on YouTube before you go. With that said, let's get Matt and Jeff up here with me. What is up, guys? You know how we do it here. We always start the show transparent. Game 2, I went 2-for-1 in that game. I had the full game over. Also had the Nuggets team total over. I was really hoping Murray was going to hit that 3 to go to OT. And then my other play was the Bam over assist, over 3.5 assists. So 2-for-1 in game 2. Hopefully we get on the profitable side on game 3 here for me here. But Matt, let's go to you. How did game 2 go for you?
Yeah, game 2, I went 1-1. I missed that Nikola Jokic triple double that I was talking about. With Jokic, the X factor is generally his assists. Is guys like Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, KCP knocking down their outside shots, and in that game they really didn't do what they did in game 1. I also had the game total over, and that went over for us, so I definitely enjoyed that hit there. But once again, I believe I'm 2-3 on this series so far. I'm going to have around 2 or 3 plays today and looking to get in the positive. So looking forward to breaking this down with you guys, and just happy to have some basketball to watch tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I've been dabbling in the WNBA, doing pretty well there. Last couple of days, though, man, last couple of slates, it's like I went 8-0 last week, and then I go on a bad losing streak here, but still overall profitable in the WNBA. But there's basketball there too. Hopefully, you dive into that too, Matt. We'll see what happens. But Jeff, how's everything going with you here, game 2?
Yeah, I can't complain. I've been light on the slate in the finals so far. I'm over 1 in the finals, but we've been profitable in baseball, and I'm excited to break this down with you guys because it's not like I haven't been looking at this series. Have definitely been keeping my eye on it. I just think that there's so many ways to break this series down that I'm intrigued. I'm interested to do it with you guys again here today for an exciting Game 3 matchup tonight.
Yeah, let's get into it, guys. Game 3 here. Series is tied 1-1. Huge win by Miami in game 2. The Heat had 3 players with 20 or more points. Bam, Jimmy, Gabe Vincent has been a standout here. The Heat shot lights out, guys. 49% from the field, 49% from three, 90% from the charity stripe. Just shooting lights out from everywhere. The Nuggets, they shot well too, guys. 52% from the field, but the 3-pointers made was a difference maker. The Heat made 17. The Nuggets only made 11. Another big difference, I mean, and Matt touched on it, Jokic, really, he went off, right, offensively, 41 points, but he had only 4 assists. Murray had, 18 points in game 2 there, so a dip offensively for Murray. And a key change from Miami was having Jimmy Butler guard Murray for a majority of that game. Another thing from the Nugget side, MPJ really struggled on both sides of the ball, and that was really apparent, and that's the reason why he only played 26 minutes. He had a minus 15 on the court when he was on the court, his worst plus minus of the whole playoffs so far this season. Guys, Jeff, let's start with you here. What are your thoughts on this game? What do you think that the Miami Heat or the Nuggets can do here in Game 3 to get the win? Do you see anything from a betting perspective that you can take advantage of as well?
Yeah, a lot of times we've been talking about competing trends, angles, and taking the different looks on the different teams in the entirety of this playoff run. But it's kind of shocking to me. I looked at a league-wide trend here. Number one seeds as an away favorite of 4 points or less, covering just 35% of the games. And if you take out round one, where they're playing the 8 seed, they're covering only 30.6% of those games, and they're just 14-23 straight up. But when it comes after a loss, they're just 3-9 straight up and against the spread. So, it was kind of interesting to me to look at this series. Denver's been an away dog relatively frequently, and Miami's had a couple games now that they've been a home favorite. But the reason that, I mentioned earlier that I have kind of stayed away a little bit from this series, at least for the first 2 games right now, is just how Miami has changed everything on their season. Ron, especially, we like those trends and angles, and a lot of it is history. And Miami is just totally basically rewriting their history from this season. I mean, the biggest thing that stood out to me in the regular season this year, Miami was 7-16 straight up, 10-13 against the spread as an underdog. In the playoffs, they're 10-6 straight up, 12-4 against the spread. They've won more games and covered more games in the playoff as a dog than they did in the regular season. And that's not from, limited times of being an underdog. I mean, 23 games in the regular season. They've only had 16 in the playoffs, so it's, a smaller sample size, but obviously a much larger time frame there. So it really is hard to get a grip on that. And the total's even crazier in my opinion. Blow through it real quick. Miami, first series, 124 points per game versus Milwaukee, 5 straight overs. Then you go to round two. Against the Knicks is a defensive battle. They allow under 102 points in 4 of the 6 games, and they never go over 110. And Boston, the first 3 games flew over that total. And then the last 4 games, at least one of the teams was held under 105 points. And the last 2, both of them were under 105 points. So, we've seen 2 sides to this Miami series. And I do have a couple prop looks, but maybe I'll get Matt's opinion after.
Yeah, I mean that's a good take. I mean the other thing too, we always talk about the zigzag theory right here, and one thing that I just looked at today was in the finals, right? The zigzag theory. I mean, most people would have expected, home team, away team, taking the wins here. But I look specifically in this scenario in a game 3 where the home favorite won game 1, the home favorite lost game 2. What happens in game 3? Typically, the road team right here, where who had the initial home situation, 5-2 straight up, 5-2 against the spread, 5-2 to the under as well. They show up defensively for the most part, and this is since 2002. So obviously, we're only looking at the finals. So we're not going to have a huge sample size because we're looking specifically in this zigzag situation here in game 3. And the home team, they are 6-0-1 to their team total under. So that might be another situation to look at too. The Nuggets have to show up defensively here. They can't have the Heat shoot 50% from 3, especially in this situation. So I'm expecting the Nuggets to find a way to limit that 3-point shot there. The Heat have been shooting threes, this postseason exceptionally well. They're gonna have to find a way to limit that for an opportunity to get a win in Miami. Matt, let's go to you here. What are your thoughts on this game here in Game 3, and what do you see from a betting perspective that you feel like you could take advantage of here?
Yeah, for one, I definitely want to agree with Jeff. I was definitely hoping this Miami team would get eliminated at some point because, all season long, they've just been a team that, is kind of tough to put your finger on. They're not a team that you enjoy betting with all that much in terms of same-game parlays, player props, stuff like that. So, yeah, I would definitely be with Jeff there. They're just so hot and cold, like that Milwaukee series, they absolutely explode. Very high total, going over all the time. Then the Knicks is a defensive battle. So again, it's just a tougher team to somewhat put your finger on at times because they do have so many different role players who can come to play. Guys like Caleb Martin, he hasn't really been showing up this series. Is this the game where he gets back to maybe doing what he did in the Eastern Conference Finals? And then you have Gabe Vincent. Gabe Vincent's been incredibly consistent for them as the point guard, shooting from beyond the arc. Then you got guys like Max Strus and Duncan Robinson. So there's so many different players who can kind of chip in and play well. And Eric Spoelstra, if someone comes in and plays well, they're going to get those additional minutes. You know what I mean? So it is somewhat tough to figure out rotation at times. But for the Denver Nuggets, it's more like what you see is what you get. We know what we're going to get there. And for the Denver Nuggets to come back, to come out and get this win, we definitely probably need a little bit more of aggression from Jamal Murray. Not like he played terrible. He shot 7 for 15, I believe, had 10 assists, so did his job. A lot of it was Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr. played awful. He only had 5 points. He ended up getting benched. And one thing that I did want to point out is with Michael Porter Jr., he has been benched in the playoffs before, and in each time, he rebounded very well. He was benched against the Minnesota Timberwolves, only had 29 minutes, rebounded having 40 minutes, 25 points, and 9 rebounds. Okay, so played very well there. Was benched again in Game 2 against the Phoenix Suns, only had 5 points, 4 rebounds. Following game came back, 21 points and 12 rebounds. So that's definitely somewhere I'm somewhat looking tonight. They need Michael Porter Jr. They need him to be spotting up. They need him to be confident and knocking down those outside shots because that also takes a lot of the attention off of Nikola Jokic. For Jokic to be himself, those guys need to be knocking down those outside shots like KCP, MPJ, Aaron Gordon slashing to the basket like we've talked about. So, again, I do think if I were to go anywhere, I would definitely side with the Nuggets to come back. But I really did like your point, Ron, that with the under. I think this is going to be a far more defensive-minded game. Game 3, 1-1. The slate is clean, essentially, and both teams are really going to want to get out and take the series lead. Typically, when that happens, the refs are going to let them play a little bit more. I think each player is going to step up a little bit. We have an extended rest on top of that. So, for me, a lot of signs are pointing towards a defensive-minded game in this situation. But for me, if I were to go anywhere, I think I would be with the Nuggets covering the spread and going up in this series 2-1.
Yeah, I want to talk about a couple of things here that we saw in Game 2, right? Kevin Love moved into the starting role. Do we expect that to happen, right? MPJ, we talked about MPJ, Matt, and he only played 26 minutes. Do we see Denver kind of stick with the hot hand there, which I feel like would be Bruce Brown, right? I think that he kind of took a bit of those minutes from him there. Braun kind of struggled in that game too. There, he had a good game 1. I feel like he did his part, what you would expect from a rookie. In game 2, he kind of struggled. I feel like on both sides of the ball in the times that he was on the court that I've seen a few mistakes that I feel like kind of pushed some momentum to the Miami side there. What do you think about rotations? Are we going to see any key rotations changing here? Jimmy Butler on Murray, I think they're probably going to try and stick to that. What can Denver do to kind of get away from that? Are we going to see more screener roles with maybe a different player other than Jokic in this situation here? What are some of you guys' thoughts that might happen in this zigzag sort of situation here in Game 3? Matt, let's start with you here.
Yeah, for me, I honestly don't think it'll change that much. This is a Denver Nuggets team who had the best record in the NBA. They played incredibly well throughout the playoffs. I can't remember what their win streak was before losing to the Heat there, but they were on a great run. It's just one game. Things do happen in the NBA. I do think Bruce Brown deserves some additional minutes. I think he should see closer to 30 in a game like this because he has been playing incredibly well, and he goes out there, he plays great defense. He's someone who can man up against Gabe Vincent. But to your point, Ron, I think something that could be key here is definitely that pick and roll. Jamal Murray and Jimmy Butler is actually something that we highlighted before this series started and said that could be a possibility, when we talked
Yep.
about Jamal Murray, top point scorer, because if Butler is on him, we both said, that might be a little iffy. So they need to do a better job of getting Jimmy Butler off of Jamal Murray. And that might be
Yeah.
screens with Nikola Jokic. That might be screens with Aaron Gordon. That might be screens with Michael Porter Jr. I think getting these players in motion a little bit more, whether it's a pick and roll or whether it's a fade, is going to be a key thing. And generally what that is Michael Porter Jr. sets the screen. You might think he's going to roll, but then he sticks out at the 3-point line. Jamal Murray goes to the basket.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they just need to mix things up a little bit. This is the best team throughout the NBA and throughout the entire regular season and the playoffs. I think they're experienced enough not to panic in this position, to come out, run what they've been doing. But again, like you said, Ron, I think they do need to run some different motions, some different sets, things of that nature, because they need to get these looks to some of these guys like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Michael Porter Jr., Bruce Brown on the outside. Bruce Brown is one of those guys, he's been shooting incredibly well from the outside and is very good at slashing to the basket. He's a big momentum guy too. So I do think, to your point, he needs to come in the game earlier, maybe at the 7-minute mark, maybe at the 8-minute mark, maybe do some staggered shifts with Michael Porter Jr. or Aaron Gordon, things like that. But I do think he's going to be very aggressive in this spot. But for me, again, I don't think they'll change all that much, because this is a team who's been here. Again, they're at the best record regular season, best record throughout the playoffs. So I don't expect much to change. I just think the attitude and effort is what needs to change the most.
That makes sense. I still feel like they're gonna probably attack with MPJ early, because to me he seems like a one. I mean, he's more just an offensive minded player, right? So if they use MPJ early in this game, I think he has a short leash. If he's not doing well offensively, they might just bring Bruce Brown in pretty quickly there. Any thoughts, Jeff, to add on to what we just talked about here?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys said it earlier too. I think the sole fact that MPJ was so off, offensively last game, I think it goes back. Oh, we talked about this last time I was on the show, I believe. I mentioned it about the Heat. When you eliminate what Bam Adebayo does, it basically makes that team a one-dimensional team. Obviously, it's on a different level with Denver. They're a little more of an impressive and a little more proven, team there. But, basically eliminating MPJ's game out of the last, out of game 2 made it, I think, a little easier for Jimmy Butler to be able to focus on Jamal Murray. It almost took 2 aspects out of the game just with one player, having an off game. So, I do agree with, the way to potentially get things moving and what you guys did, said about changes that can be made. I think the easiest change that could potentially be made is MPJ comes out and plays like he potentially can. I think that opens the floor. That gives them a bunch of, obviously more options to score and more levels to score from. And I think that in itself makes Jamal Murray a bigger factor as well there. So, I think Denver's coming into this thinking we could have won that game, and Miami's coming in thinking we could have lost that game. I think it's a different mindset, and I think you guys are right. I don't think a whole lot changes. I think, honestly, the biggest change that we're going to see is I'll be surprised if we see Cody Zeller on the 4, and that's coming from the other side.
Yeah, that was actually pretty funny. I don't know if it was a tweet or if I was messaging someone, but I was like, Cody Zeller looks like he got money on the Denver Nuggets. When he came in, oh my God. It was actually pretty funny how bad it was, how he played in the short period of time. It might have been like in the third quarter or something. He had like 2 turnovers in a row. Like he was just fumbling the ball. It was actually pretty funny. But yeah, that's a good point there. Like, what are they going to do as far as a secondary big?
Yeah, I was going to say, I kind of alluded to it earlier. I didn't want to keep rambling, but, I saw 2 props that caught my attention that I want to bring up to you guys, if we still got a second. How about Haywood Highsmith, 10 plus points is plus 550, or Kevin Love to be the leading rebounder at plus 3,800? So
Plus 38.
the only thing Yeah, well, the thing that stuck out to me about Kevin Love is I agree completely, and I would start with saying that I would not be betting both of these. But
Yeah.
I do think that there's something to be said about the fact that I think Cody Zeller is a liability right now, and he's an injury concern. So, I mean, Kevin Love uh 16 games has actually led the team in rebounding 12.5% of the time. And Miami has been a different team rebounding at home than they have on the road in this playoffs. They've been dominated in rebound differential on the road, and at
Hmm.
home, they've actually led 4 out of the last 6 games. So my money here would actually be not to be on Joker to lead rebounds. I just think Kevin Love may be actually the best value since he's done it before, and that's because I didn't see any Caleb Martin numbers out, who's done it more frequently than Kevin Love has.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because obviously he led the rebounds in the last game for Miami specifically. Would there be a prop? I don't have it available, but I know there's some props where you could take Kevin Love over rebounds over Bam Adebayo or something like that in some way or some fashion. So maybe if you get plus money on that type of thing too, it might be a good look, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think that I was looking at have you guys seen anything on Caleb Martin? I've seen a lot of like FanDuel DraftKings numbers haven't fully been there, but I haven't seen anything about like real injury concerns.
I have not seen anything as far as
No.
injury concerns with Caleb Martin. I think it's just maybe more of just a matchup type thing here, in
Yeah.
my opinion. Also, it's the pressure, right? The pressure of playing in the NBA Finals. That I think
Yeah,
I
true.
would have thought he would have been fine with it, but it seems like it's gotten to him. Also, I mean, just having we always talk about the letdown spot, right? He had a really good series
Yeah.
there against Boston, and it takes a lot to live up to that type of that hype. And then, we talk about the letdown spot after that, the mental aspect of it. Maybe he turns it around here in game 3 at home and maybe that jump starts him. But I'm not too sure
I
if there's
think
an
game
injury.
two, I I think game two there was an illness concern, if I'm not mistaken.
Was
I was
there? Oh,
actually
okay.
listening to that game on the radio, so it was a different one. So
Cold
I
chills.
I
Okay.
believe
Producer
there
Eric in the
may have
background
been
was
an
like, yep,
injury.
cold chills. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I wasn't aware of it, but maybe that's an issue there. He did play 20 minutes though, but he didn't shoot as much as we expected him to. Struce showed up though, for sure. So from a prop perspective, there's a lot of ways to go here. I think all three of us, our best bets are going to be props. So
Yeah.
real quick before we go to the best bet section, let's kind of go down the line here and say real quick, where we're leaning towards from a total and a spread perspective. To me, I feel like Denver kind of gets back the spot here. I think they're able to get the win and cover, and maybe a look towards the under. I feel like if they're gonna get the win here, they're gonna have to do it defensively. They can't allow. We talked about the 3-point shooting ability of Miami. They have to limit that here. So if I was to make any bets on the total or the side perspective, I would say it would be Denver and the under. Jeff, let's go to you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm leaning Miami. Denver's 5-11 against the spread this year is an away favorite of 5 or less points. So they're actually losing straight up, but I do think you're spot on with that total look. I think if Miami does keep this close, it's got to stay low. So
Mhm.
I'm leaning Miami. I'm leaning the under.
Yeah, it's interesting because in the playoffs, this is the first time Denver's first time losing at home. So they'll see what type of adjustment they make here. Matt, let's go to you.
Yeah, Ron, I'm with you here. I think Denver is bouncing back, even though I'm a little nervous about Miami. It's just like one of those teams I just cannot put my finger on. Series after series. But with the total, I'm definitely looking at the under as well. I think this is going to be a grinded out style basketball game. I think it's going to be the style basketball game that Jimmy Butler loves to play in. And, one last thing I wanted to say in reference to Jeff's point earlier, talking about Hayward Highsmith, with head coach Eric Spoelstra, we already talked about this. He is one of those coaches that is not afraid to ride the hot hand. If someone like Hayward Highsmith comes in, hits a couple shots, Caleb Martin's still not playing all that good, he's going to get additional minutes. And it's the same thing with Kevin Love. If Kevin Love is knocking down some outside shots, something like that. This Miami team is one of those squads who has unsung heroes all the time. Guys who just come in, they're a spark plug, they get it going early, and, Eric Spoelstra continues to ride them. So I do think both of those bets are pretty interesting looks. And with this Miami team, they do have a lot of value because they have so many of those role players who have potential to get boosted minutes with a good game. And, you've seen it with guys like Gabe Vincent hitting 20 points. Or, again, Hayward Highsmith having 18 points in that one game. So there is a lot of opportunity in these matchups, and especially with this Miami Heat team. You just got to find it, and you got to really pick who you think is going to go off in that spot.
I like it. All right, well, we gave out our leans for the side and the total perspective. Like I said earlier, our best bet, all of our best bets are props. So let's go to Jeff here first. What's your best bet for today's show? Also, what do you got going on over at Wager Talk?
Yeah, I said I like Miami, I like the under, but hey, props can play both sides, and I like Aaron Gordon to get at least a block here tonight. He actually led the team in blocks per game in the regular season. He was ahead of Joker, and right now he's just behind Joker in the postseason. But Joker's sitting at minus 145 to record a block, and Aaron Gordon's at minus 115. So honestly, I think both of them are going to get one, but the value here with Gordon is substantially better. Gordon hasn't been in foul trouble. He's recorded a block in 5 straight games, and he had 2 blocks in one of them, and he's averaging 1 block per game over the last 11 in the playoffs. That comes all the way back to game 2 of the Phoenix series. 12 blocks in the last 12 road games and 6 in the last 6 on the road in the playoffs. So I think Gordon's got another one here tonight, sitting at minus 115 is pretty good value to get 1 block in the 48 minutes of gameplay at least. So I like Gordon to get that at minus 115 tonight for my best bet.
Awesome. Did you talk about what you got going on over at Wager Talk right now? Do you have anything on the premium side?
That very well may end up being a premium play for me. I'm still kind of looking at this NBA card, getting the best value, but I do have an MLB action up for tonight for sale. But no NBA so far, but that could change before tip.
Awesome. All right. Well, guys, make sure you guys head over to Wager Talk to Jeff over there. I'll go next here. The best bet for me is a premium play, a small premium play here. Jamal Murray over 12.5 rebounds and assists. So far in the finals, Murray is averaging 10 assists per game on 19 potential assists. That alone kind of drew me towards this play because when I could see, a player has the potential to get over on a combo prop with just one of the stats alone, I feel like there has to be some value there because there's like I said, 19 potential assists, and we're looking at 12.5 over rebounds and assists. From a rebounding perspective, he is averaging 5 on 7.5 potential rebounds. So he needs to convert just under 50% of his opportunities combined to get over this number. And so far, he's doing that pretty easily. He's over 50% on both his potential assists and rebounds. So even a small dip in productivity gives us a chance to get over this 12.5 rebounds and assists. I think what I seen earlier was 11.5, but it was juice. But if you bring it up to 12.5, you can get it at I think it was minus 110. If I'm not mistaken, currently. And so that's my best bet for today's show. I do have some WNBA plays up and available for at Wager Talk, but one of them has already moved 4 points from this morning. That's why the all access package is really valuable because you're able to capture the numbers that some of the cappers put in. WNBA lines are pretty soft early, so if you can get them early, you can get the best of the number as quick as possible. I woke up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, Jeff, and your dad was like, hey, this number is not available anymore. Do you still want to put it as a package? So can't do that. It can't give it out as a package. But, when the number is way off like that, But like I said, the all access is something that you should go for. Obviously, that monthly package that I talked about earlier is available. But let's go to Matt here. What is your best bet for today's show, and what you got going on over at Sports Memo?
Yeah, guys, right now over at Sports Memo, I have 2 plays loaded, and one of the plays loaded is today's best bet. So really excited for today's game. Think we're going to have a really good matchup, a matchup that has a lot of opportunity for rebounds and assists. Like I was saying earlier, I do think this is going to be a defensive-minded matchup, so I think there are going to be some rebounds or additional rebounds for a lot of guys in key spots. And one of those guys who I think is going to be in a pretty good spot here and getting back on track, I should say, is going to be Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler over 38.5 points plus rebounds, assists. Okay, and again, this is a spot for Jimmy Butler where, the series is tied. They're going back home to Miami, and this is a number Jimmy has missed 2 games in a row. And in past situations with Jimmy Butler, after game 2, going back home to Miami, he's actually hit this number in 2 out of 3 matchups. And Jimmy Butler as well, I think there's a spot where he knows he needs to be aggressive. He needs to get to the line or do everything possible to get to the line, because if you get someone like Aaron Gordon in foul trouble, that can be a huge additional boost for Jimmy in this spot. In addition to that, when Jimmy Butler has made 8 free throws in a game, they're winning 66% of their games this postseason. So again, I think that's a magic number for Jimmy Butler. Head coach Eric Spoelstra, potentially the best in the game. He's telling Jimmy what he needs to do. I think Jimmy knows on top of that. And I think this is just a game where, it's been a while since we've seen Jimmy Butler really just completely take over a basketball game. And I still know he's very capable of it. So again, in game 3, going back home to Miami, I think it's going to be more than just points. I think he's going to be attacking the glass. I think he's going to be getting the ball and pushing it up court immediately. I think he's going to be looking to facilitate to his teammates on top of that. So for me, I really do think this is a great look for Jimmy Butler. So tonight I'm going over 38.5 points plus rebounds plus assists.
Yeah, I like that look. Another thing too, Matt. Jimmy Butler was kind of living at the free throw line in previous series. So far this series, he's only gone to the free throw line 5 times. I think that's something that might change for him as well. I think we're going to see him attack the paint a little bit more, maybe get to the free throw line a little bit more, and that's going to definitely help him out in the points department because he hasn't been shooting that well so far in this series. So maybe getting to the free throw line gets him into a rhythm offensively. All right, well, guys, that is the show today. We talked about some of our leans from a side total perspective. We talked about our best bets, also what we got going on over on our respective sides. Sports Memo for Matt, Wager Talk for myself and Jeff. I also want to make sure you guys know about that June special, guys, over at Wager Talk. For 30 days, $198 all access. That's the price of 2 7-day all access packages. So basically, you can get 30 days for the price of 14 over at Wager Talk. There's no limit to how many handicappers you can choose for that. No coupon is necessary either. Make sure you guys go over to Sports Memo for Matt. All his available packages there. I know he's going in on the UFC as well, along with the NBA. Make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button before you go as well. With that said, that is the show for today. We'll see you guys back on Friday. Good luck with all your action. Until then, peace.
Peace.